It tears me down because I think about as a child when we had fire drills and tornado drills and they taught us, crouch down and cover your head. And I remember we would have these routine drills and I really believed that a tornado was going to come.
Welcome to the BJ Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brad and John never wants to follow. Yeah, ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
John, when you had those tornado drills in high school and junior high and grade school in the Hazelwood School District, did you think a tornado was really going to come?
Absolutely. And if you recall, at Hazelwood East High School, we had floors with no walls in between classrooms. So I knew I was safe, Brad. There wasn't going to be a whole bunch of plaster and asbestos covering me.
That's right. You had the no walls classroom stuff, didn't you?
We had the open classroom idea. Yeah, which was fun. You could play catch with your buddies down the hallway. You could look at people and make faces at kids in other classrooms. And, for the intellectual superiority of Hazelwood East students, that's exactly what we needed.
I don't think that lasted long, did it? That open classroom theory?
I think it lasted from, if East was built around 74, around the mid-70s, around that period of time. It was certainly there when I was still there. And I believe they stopped that open classroom idea probably about 20 years ago. I think teachers probably had enough.
I think your dates are off there. I want to say East was built in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, you've covered it. Deedum tots, Brad. I don't think we need to split hairs on that.
You said
East
74.
Was built in the mid to late 70s. You're right.
Okay. I am back again. John never misses a day. I do, and I apologize about yesterday, but I was a little bit under the weather yesterday. And if John wants me to go into detail about my 14-hour stay in the emergency room, which was sort of interesting. But, I have to tell you, when you do like an emergency room visit like that, you get a true appreciation for those nurses and doctors and nursing assistants and all those people that work in the ER. I don't know how they do it. I really don't. Especially when you have butthead patients like this guy who was sitting like right across from me who kept saying...
Like Brad Hildebrand, right? And he's like, have I ever told you about Ron Grubbs? And they're like, every week, Brad.
John, I'm telling you, when I'm in a position like that, trust me, this is not me just bragging. I am the world's best patient. I'm the world's best customer. Sometimes, especially if I go and eat by myself and I don't want to embarrass anybody, when the waiter or waitress comes up to the table, I say, I'm going to be your easiest customer tonight. And most of them will go like, yeah, really? I go, no, I'm going to be the easiest customer. I'm going to not give you any trouble. I'm going to compliment your service, and I'm going to give you a good tip. And some of them will go like, yeah, right, heard that before. And then at the end of the night, they say, you were my easiest customer.
Oh, Brad. And then they give you some extra chicken nuggets. And then they give you a scratch under the chin and a pat on the head, don't they?
Yeah. Well, my trip to the emergency room yesterday, it's not good when your doctor says, you need to go to the emergency room right away. So that's where I ended up at St. John's, the big, I still call it St. John's.
Palace on Ballas.
The Palace on Ballas. And I'm telling you, it was bizarre there yesterday. I mean,
should, Brad, in C block, you should start off, or in B block, you should start off with that because I'd love to hear about it.
It was unbelievable. Okay, that is John Combest, Combest. Every single day of his life, he puts together this incredible list of all the stuff that you need to know that's going on in the state of Missouri. But what we do on this show, we bring in this fine gentleman, we dig him out of his grave in Norway or Holland or wherever his wife buried him, and we bring him back to life, and he says, your name, sir?
I'm Casey Kasem.
And we start off with?
In third place.
Well, unlike Brad Hildebrand, who made it through, we can say R.I.P. to a topic we've talked about on the show, and that is the North City Battery Plant. 3 headlines on johncombest.com today. We'll go with one from the St. Louis Business Journal. North City Battery Plant officially dead. That's right. This is brought to us by Jacob Kern. ICL Group said it will not build a battery materials plant in North St. Louis, coming after the Trump administration canceled a key grant. But U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt encouraged the firm to move forward with alternative financing. The Israeli firm, and by the way, this again, these are Jacob Kern's words, not mine. The Israeli firm said it made the decision Tuesday, affecting the proposed lithium iron phosphate cathode production facility, that's a mouthful, at a 19-acre site it bought at the corner of, these are my words, Adelaide and Hall Street. Brad, you and I have discussed this on the show previously. So the Israeli firm had an earnings call Tuesday, and I should note, Brad, you and I discussed, you asked me directly if ICL was a public company. I said I thought it was, but that it probably traded on an Israeli exchange. I was wrong. It's publicly traded, and it's traded on the New York Stock Exchange. So the company announced to investors that this plant is dead. Local media, including St. Louis Public Radio and the Post-Dispatch, in addition to the Business Journal, have noted that when ground was broken, folks, including Republicans like then Governor Mike Parson, celebrated the plant. And as we know, the Trump administration is not fond of a whole lot of green energy grants. So I think what we have here, Brad, is the reality of if this Israeli company wants to continue building, they should find some private financing. They are a publicly traded company. They are a legitimate company. Find some private financing and do it yourself and don't suckle off the government's teat.
So they're officially saying they're not going to they're done even with private financing. They're not going to go ahead with this then.
They're done. Yeah, and they've also said that they were relying on some tax credits for another facility somewhere in Europe that they ended up not getting as well. So they said that this is part of a holistic approach to re-examining their priorities and their other products and projects around the world. So they say, hey, we're not just killing this St. Louis thing that we had planned on and that we had purchased. So I guess the question is, Brad, I guess they're going to have to dump this. They're going to have to unload this land, and I'm sure somebody will buy it, and maybe there'll be some sort of a, government handout program from the city or something that will encourage people to buy this land now.
John, let's take today's date of November 13th. We move forward 3 years. It's 2028. November 13th, 2028, and we have President-elect AOC. Does everything turn around again where she goes, I'm going to bring in battery plants and we're going to do solar power and we're going to make all the coal plants go away and we're going to make everybody drive an electric car? Is that the way it's going to be, you think, 3 years from today?
I think so. I think we'll have a little whiplash there. Now, specifically at Adelaide and Hall Street, I think by that point in 3 years, pick and pull will have already expanded into that area. You will have long passed after that gallbladder surgery goes way wrong.
Yes.
And your son will have acquired all your wealth.
Right.
And in honor of you, he will have expanded pick and pull to include Hall Street and Adelaide.
Either that or there'll be a new multi-acre on-site gambling facility there. One or the other, right? Okay, we ready?
Yeah. Maybe Ballpark Village will expand their DraftKings FanDuel Circa extension. They could have a North City area. You could bring in your EBT and wager on games.
Right, and you can trade your Snap card for bets on the Cardinals, right? Okay, ready for number 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
Up a notch to number 2.
Now, this is a real pocketbook issue. Let's go from an Israeli company that probably doesn't affect too many people to something that affects everybody's pocketbook. Post-Dispatch had a story up yesterday about Governor Mike Kehoe's plan to phase out Missouri's income tax. Oh, yeah. Conservatives have been talking about it for a while. You've had groups like Americans for Prosperity Missouri pushing this in the legislature. They'll be doing it again next year. And this time, they'll have the bully pulpit of Mike Kehoe. I would suggest people take a look at two different stories. Yesterday, which was Wednesday at johncombest.com, you can read the Kurt Erickson piece on eliminating the income tax. And today, you can go to my website and find a link to 97.1, the Mark Reardon Show. And Dave Stokes from the Show Me Institute walks through how an income tax elimination would actually happen. Now, I don't want to spoil the Dave interview, but reading through the transcript, here's a spoiler. Dave says whether you're doing something like eliminating the state income tax or the city earnings tax, it's really hard to do in one fell swoop. So sometimes you got to do it a little bit at a time. And that's what we would probably expect the proposal to be from the Kehoe administration. Now, a second spoiler here, Brad. When Kehoe came out and said that he's going to work to eliminate the income tax, he doesn't have all the particulars of how it's going to work just yet. Now, I'm guessing, my own guess here, is that before the legislature comes in January, the Kehoe team will roll out exactly what the particulars are, and specifically, to quote Gen Z, how the math is going to start mathing. If you eliminate the income that the state gets from the income tax, how are you going to replace it, Gov? So I expect the Kehoe team will have some answers to that. But Brad, this was a wish list item, sort of a legislative bucket list item for a lot of conservatives. And it looks like the governor's going to use his bully pulpit to push it next year.
You know, there's one exception to this, though. In Franklin County, in order to get your income taxes essentially...
What do you have to submit, Brad? Take a shot at Dave Shots.
You have to submit your receipts for all. You have to submit all your paycheck stubs for the entire year in order to get your income tax deleted. But if you don't submit all your paychecks, you get double the income tax of the normal. So that's
then because Dave Schatz has such experience in excavating and laying pipe, Brad, if it's you, he's going to excavate and remove something, I don't know, maybe a prostate or a gallbladder from you, right?
No, he's going to go down to my transmitter site and tear it up even more than the farmers did.
Yeah. He hears that's a hot TikTok trend, you know?
Right. Let's go to the crap transmitter site and run our bulldozer through and screw Brad's drainage up. Okay, we're ready for number one?
Yeah, give it to me, Brad.
The number one.
Here's a second real pocketbook issue. A breathless headline from St. Louis Public Radio's Kate Grumke. She is officially the environment, climate, and agriculture content creator at St. Louis Public Radio. The headline, Ameren, Missouri, give me a minute, Brad, cut off power for 17,000 customers in October. What a heartless company. Ameren, Missouri, she writes, disconnected 17,347 households in October, according to documents filed with Missouri's Public Service Commission. The utility shuts off power when customers are behind on their bills. Now, here's my favorite line from this, Brad. The latest data shows more than 219,000 customers have at least one delinquent charge. Now, Brad, having worked with you for 2 years, I know what it's like to have someone owe you a huge sum of money with no plan or vision of how they'll ever pay it back. But on average, Ms. Grumke writes, the average delinquent customer owes $218.40. So the question is, Brad, I know we're supposed to see a headline like this and think, oh, what a heartless company. Don't they know how cold it's been lately? But if you don't pay your bills, what do you expect to happen? Do you expect to make it to the cutoff date for the cold weather rule and then stick it to Spire, stick it to Ameren, stick it to your utility company? Why don't these people just pay their bills, Brad?
Well, that's because of the fact, well, see, there's a difference in Franklin County. If you don't pay your bills, you just send in your old bills to Dave Schatz, and he pays your electric bill for you. See, that's one of the upsides to Dave Schatz in Franklin County.
Brad. Now, Brad, I hate to be like your gallbladder and prostate surgeon and go in and remove something surgically here, but I would just say I'm going to take away your punchline and point out that one of your favorite punchlines is that I have a buddy that works at Ameren, so every time I say something about Ameren, I'm paying homage to my buddy. But really, is Ameren supposed to be the bad guy in this story? Like, at a certain point, when people run up a bill, I don't care if it's Ameren or if it's your Nordstrom card or whatever, what are you expecting companies to do? They're accountable. If they're a monopoly, they're an evil monopoly. Well, you know what? They gotta pay their bills too. They have financing. They have shareholders. Pay your bills. Stop complaining.
Why doesn't the Senate pass a bill that, they already did that where we're going to pay for Ameren UE's power plants before they're even built?
Yeah, okay. I see where you're going.
Why doesn't the Senate pass a bill that in order for them to get that, they have to essentially every month essentially like they have like the wheel of fortune at the Ameren UE headquarters, and they spin it and they have a zip code, and every zip code in that every customer in that zip code gets free electric for a month. What do you think, John?
Oh, I like that, Brad. Now the challenge is, you think there's anybody at Ameren that looks like Vanna White?
Well, I'm not going to say that. And by the way, John is not in full compliance, in full exposure here.
Disclosure, yeah.
When John mentions something about Ameren, what's interesting is if you go over to his house, for the next day, his meter runs backwards, amazingly enough.
It does. I get a refund every time I drop it in. By the way, their ticker symbol is AEE.
Does that stand for Ameren Electric, or is that what that is?
Yeah, it's a double electric.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we ready for number one?
Yeah, but I love these stories, Brad. And as it gets cold, there's going to be more hard luck stories. I would love for Ameren, they have all these reporting requirements. If I'm Ameren, I push back and I say, okay, we'll give a break on your electric rate and your bill. We'll even write off some of your delinquency if you will submit a screenshot or give us access to your checking or credit account. And then we would anonymize it. We would take your identifying information off. And we would be able to show, okay, this customer who lives in 63137, let's besmirch Bell Fountain neighbors. Well, they chose to not pay their Ameren bill for 3 months. But here's how many times they went to Shake Shack. And here's their Netflix subscription. And here's how many times they bought donuts at Schnucks.
John, do you want me in C Block? You bring that up. I will tell you a story which you probably won't believe, because what you just said, I had a banker that did that exact same thing.
Oh, nice. When you were looking for a loan?
Well, this is an interesting story. You want to talk about it in C Block?
Yeah, I want to.
Because
let's change his name. Let's call him E.L. Beckelkamp. Let's not throw anybody under the bus.
No,
Brad.
it's not him. We'll call him a raccoon.
Han Shays. Can we call him Han Shays?
No, we'll call him Raccoon, okay?
Okay, we'll call him Raccoon.
Okay. You ready for number one?
Yeah, that was number one, Brad.
No, it wasn't. It can't be number one because it's only 7:19.
I know. What about it, Brad? Thankfully, at the front end, I said, let's talk about gallbladder and prostate later on, and let's get to the top three.
Well, hold it. That can't be number one. Casey, was that number one?
The number one.
He says it's not number one.
Well, you know what? I think when they took out his gallbladder, they took out part of his medulla oblongata, too.
I used to have one of those, and it was better than a Ferrari. You know what I'm saying?
I do know that.
Anyway, okay, Brad's top three is up next, and it has nothing to do with any of the utilities.